So today we are going to talk about Redux. As always, I start asking, have anyone has worked with Redux?
I haven't.
Me neither.
Okay, so let's see the table of contents. We have what is Redux and why we should use Redux and how it works, and also a quick demo. So, what is Redux? Redux is a library that we use for manage and update our application state, which we can use for JavaScript applications. Um, Redux is vastly used with React, React Redux, and also we can use Redux with Angular, Vue, and jQuery also. And a special thing about this library is this is a very uh, lightweighted library with all the dependencies. It's like 2 kilobytes, and Redux gives us this global state which we can use like the React context API, but those are two different things. So uh, that's Redux. But today I'll be talking about only Redux, not the React Redux. Um, so yeah. So why we should use Redux? So imagine you have large amount of application states that are needed in many places. As like just like I mentioned, uh, let's say in your component tree, uh, in we have, let's say we need to pass up get some values. We need to pass it as a props for each and every component, but with Redux we can easily easily access that global state because it works like the React context. uh, this is not only for React. In your JavaScript application you don't need to uh, pass these things as props or things like that. We can directly access that global state. And also we use Redux when your state is updated frequently over time. And also when your logic to update the state also, when your state is the logic to stay update your uh, state is complex. We also use Redux, which is useful in that scenarios, and also when our app has a medium or large size code base, and or there might be work on by many people. So we use Redux to manage our state. um, so how it works. Redux has three main concepts. It's it's called store, actions, and reducers. Just like the name says, this store works like a store, which is going to store your state globally. And we just like in React, we can't change the uh, state directly. So to change the state of the store, we need to use reducers. And actions are the functions that technically the actions are events that we use to uh, change store the values. And reducers will change the store. For example, imagine a bakery. uh, move to this one. Imagine a bakery and with cakes, the number of cake will be stored in the store. Then my action will be a buy cake, but in a store we can't buy a cake directly. We have to ask the store owner to give us a one. So in this scenario, the store owner works as the reducer. So that's how it works. So these are the three main concepts of Redux. So let's move on to VS Code and have a quick demo. Let me create the JS file. So we need to install the Redux package, Redux library. So we need the package JSON file. Let me create one. Pm init dash y. So yeah, we got our we got our package JSON file. Then now I'm going to install Redux, which is npm install Redux. It's going to install Redux. As you can see, we have Redux as a dependency. In your index.js file, I talked about the concepts. So we need actions, reducers, and store. So let's consider that cake shop scenario. In that, I told that the action will be a buying cake. So I'm going to create the action called function buy cake, which is going to return a type. So in Redux, action is a object with a type property. So in here, we have to give a name for give a type. Let's say it is buy cake. But when you're coding, instead of adding this string, we create a variable. So it's buy cake will be equals buy cake. Instead of using the string, we'll use the variable. So this will be our action buying the cake. So now I have the action. I need the reducer to tell to the store that to tell this to get my cake back, right? So a reducer in Redux is a function with the switch case, which is let me create it on reducer. I told you it's going to be a switch. It's going to be a switch. So its reducer is going to receive two parameters, which is state and the action. In here, so we need to create an initial state for the store. So we create a variable. Let's name it that initial state, and we'll store the number of cakes. Let's say we have 10 cakes. So in here, I'm going to pass initial state as my state. So in here, I'm going to check the action dot type. So the case, so the case one will be buy cake, Mm, so yeah, so the buy cake, I'm going to return the new state. So in here, I'm receiving the previous state. Now I have to change it the new state. So the new state of number of cakes will be, we need to subtract the cake one, right? So the current state dot number of cake minus 1 will be the new state. Before doing that, we'll take a copy of the current state, because this state contains um, multiple properties. So it's by default, default by default, let's just return the state. Wait, oh yeah, an arrow function. So yeah, so we created our reducer. We have the action also, but we still didn't use Redux, right? So now we have to create our store. Now we need that's now Redux comes to action. Let's import Redux. We need the store, right? To create a store, we have to create store. We have to import the Redux create store method. Let's import it. Redux create store. So in here, we create our store. Create store. Then we have to pass our reducer to the as the parameter. So now we created our store as well. So the cycle is completed. We have the action buy cake. We have the reducer, which is going to receive my previous state and going to create the new state and subscribe those changes to the store. So in so now we need to buy a cake, right? So with Redux, to buy a cake, we have to use store.dispatch method. We have to say dispatch buy cake function. So store has Redux store has this get state method, which is going to give us the current state of the store. So to get that, it's it's we have to subscribe for the store. Subscribe method is like an it's a subscribe. It's a listener which is going to listen to your changes of the store. So it's console log the new state. So let's run the now it works. We in order to see the change, we have to subscribe to the store before. So as you can see, the initial state is number of cake is 10. So I bought the cake using the dispatch method. I passed the buy cake method. Now we can see we have the new state of the cake is 9. So if I buy 3 cakes, the new state will be 7. Now 10, 9, 8, 7. So that's how the 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 basic uh, actions of the Redux. So let's take a look at another one. Let's say we have ice creams as well. Let's use say, so I need to create an action. So I'm going to create my variable called by ice creams ice creams, and let's give it the creams. So yeah, I created my type. Now I have to create an action. Let's create a function. Let's name it as buy ice cream, and in here we have to return the type. So the new type will be buy ice cream. So in every we data we get will be handled in this action. For example, if we receive some data and we need to use it as the payload or something like that, we can use like this, so it can be accessed. And also imagine we have an API request and we have the response. Then we have to just use it like the response. We need to get the response data. So this is how your action is going to look like. So now we created our action. Now we have to let's add a new state for our in new property for our initial state. Let's say it's number of ice cream. Say we have 20. So in our reducer we need to add another case, which is going to be by ice creams, and I'm going to set the number of ice creams. The new state of the ice cream is the previous state's number of ice creams minus 1. Here I'm going to create some other dispatch. I'm going to, instead of a buying cake, I'm going to buy a ice cream. Here let's also buy ice creams. So let's see how our state look like. So in here, first I dispatch buy cake. So it's going to subtract 1 from the initial state, which was 10 minus 1 is 9. But we didn't bought any ice cream, so the state is 20. In the second one I bought an ice cream, so the number of cakes is still 9, and the new state of ice creams number of ice creams is 19. And again I buy an ice cream. It won't affect our number of cakes, but it changes the state of the number of ice creams. So as you can see, the more actions I have, the bigger the this switch case gets. So instead of using this single reducer, we can create multiple reducers. let's have a look at let's take a look at that one also. And so we need two reducers, right? So in two reducers means we need two initial states. So let's rename this as the initial cake state and remove the, let's make a copy of this one. Let's remove the ice cream part and let's rename this as the ice cream state, and let's remove the cream part, and also let's make a copy of this as well. So this will be our cake reducer, which is going to receive the initial state of our cake. So it's initial cake state, and we don't need this by ice cream case in here. And in here, we don't need the by cake case. Let's rename this to ice cream reducer, which is going to receive the initial state of ice cream. Yeah, now we have problem. In this create store, we can only pass one reducer. So when we have multiple reducers, we have to import the combine reducers method from the Redux library. Let's import that one, combine reducers is redux dot combine reducers. So in here, we'll create a root reducer, and let's call the combine reducer method, and in here we have to pass the our reducers as properties. Let's so in here in cake, let's pass our cake reducer. Ice cream. Let's get our ice cream reducer. So now we have our root reducer. So instead of passing the reducer, we'll passing the root reducer. So let's run the program again. You can see there's a difference. Now we have this cake property and the ice cream property, but the data works the same way. Now when you're accessing the state, it will go like state dot cake dot number of ice creams, and in order to access the number of ice creams, you have to go like state dot ice cream dot number of ice creams. So this is how Redux works. So when you're working on a project, we usually keep our actions and reducers separate in separated files. Uh, so these things will be in separated files, and so as even the reducers will have a separate directories based on the type, I guess. Yeah, if for example, if you use different we can create a directory called cake, and you can add this cake reduce and the cake actions to those relevant pages. So yeah, this state can be accessed globally, and also in order to update the state, we need to use a reducer. So the events are called actions, we look at some actions called buy cake and buy ice cream, and we use created two separated reducers, which is going to change our state and add those changes to the store. Uh, so yeah, this is I don't have any UI based things to show because I did this. This is just about Redux. So in an upcoming session, I can do about React Redux. Um, we can do some cool things with React Redux. Uh, so yeah, that's it. Um, thank you. Does anyone have any questions? And so here are the references.